Most podcasters don't grow because they don't have a strategy. No more. Welcome to the show, Podcast to Grow, where I help coaches and entrepreneurs turn their podcast into their most powerful business tool. I'm Elena, and I'm breaking down exactly how to get more listeners, more impact, and more sales. Let's get into it. Hey, it's Melina, your podcast strategist and coach. And if you're new here today, welcome. And if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. Today, I'm going to update you on what's going on with the podcast, when it's fully coming back in season 2, and what's going on and what I have learned from last season. I'm going to go deep on the behind the scenes evolution of the show and how I will be moving forward going into season 2, and what I have found out about you, the listeners, and what you are looking for more of. That's all in the show. So let's make sure that this is the most aligned season for you and me together. Let's go. I really wanted to define who this podcast is for, because I think sometimes I listen to podcasts and I'm thinking, am I really the listener for the show? Or maybe there's a chance. I mean, obviously, if you're not listening, then, or you get bored, you're not the listener for that show. But I want to make sure that you feel welcomed. You understand that this is a place for you. And so this is for solopreneurs or entrepreneurs that have a small but mighty team, or creative service providers who have launched a podcast or want to launch a podcast that is sustainable and doesn't lead them to burnout. I want to pull back the curtains of what that actually really means when we say burnout, because it might mean one thing to one person and maybe something to someone else. So maybe you're that podcaster that you have launched a podcast and you are stuck in this growth plateau. Like maybe you're at 10, 15, or 35 downloads per episode, and you're just wondering why it's not getting better or why it's not growing and what will actually make that happen. Or maybe you've been super consistent with your podcast until something comes along in life and stops you in your tracks. Maybe like a illness in the family, maybe it's you, maybe you all of a sudden have more clients and having a podcast is feeling like a burden to you now, instead of feeling more like a growth tool that you started your podcast to be. Or maybe you're still in the idea phase and the tech, the tools, and everything that goes with podcasting is getting you confused. You're just not sure what direction to go in. A lot of people get stuck on what hosting site should I pick? And I want to help you not get stuck right there and stay there, because you're dreaming of launching a podcast, one that actually hits the charts month 1 of starting your podcast and continues that momentum from there. Or maybe you've been showing up listening to this podcast, but you're still unsure how this actually will help your podcast grow. Or maybe you're asking, how does this connect to my business? Why would I be doing this when social media feels louder? Can I grow without being everywhere all at once? You might be craving a podcast that attracts clients while you rest, or a system that makes content so much easier for you, the confidence to actually get on the mic and be solo, just you and the mic and your audience. Then you're in the right place. And thanks for being here. First, just a few shout outs before we get into the meat of the episode. I've been seeing listeners right here in Massachusetts listening, across the US, in Canada, and in Europe. And I am so thankful for you all. And I have actually gotten a few messages from Alice in Montreal. She loved the September series. And also there was Jen from Chicago. She said she's been listening since episode 1. So I see you. I appreciate you. And I'm just so happy that you're here. And so that is so exciting when I get that kind of engagement. So I want to invite you to just engage a little bit more with me. So I've been thinking about ways that we could do this. I was thinking maybe possibly you could send me a quick voice note or a email or a DM, and I could feature you right here on the podcast. You could answer a question like, what is one thing you wish you knew about launching before you did? Or what is one word that would describe where you are right now in your podcasting journey? Or just ask me any question you have about podcasting. I'd love to answer it here on the show if that feels aligned for you. I would love to do that. It would be so fun. And also you can DM me on IG, that little voice note, and I'll download it from there. Or you can email me at melinadocreativesolutions@gmail.com. And all those details will be right in the show description under this title. So go there to start that. And I also am excited, a little announcement. I will be doing a in-person event right here in Boston. I'm super excited. I hope to do more than just this one, but I will be hosting an event with the PRX Podcast Garage on December 11th at 6:30, and we are going to have a fun strategy community session where we will talk about where podcasters are at, what they are hoping to do, and how they can grow. So if you have any questions and if you're local, come and hang out with me at the PRX Garage. That would be awesome. I'd be so excited to meet a listener. Let's make this season a two-way conversation and a lot of fun. All right, so let's get into my reflections on season 1 and what it taught me and where I am seeing the podcast go from here. Give you all the update. So season 1 was all about me really getting used to being a podcaster, being on this side of the podcast instead of the behind the scenes doer that I was for many years. The strategy, the manager, the editor of the podcast, being on this side was totally different for me. And I really had to adjust and really understand those nuances that I hadn't understood before. And I'm grateful that I finally did start my own show so I can understand that I can become a better coach, a better strategist, a better podcaster for myself as well, because I understand both sides. And I just think that's so cool because I'm learning right alongside with you and discovering things with you at the same time. While I didn't hit the traction that I was hoping for in season 1, I learned from every single episode that I did. And honestly, that is progress for me. And I want to celebrate that, even if it's a little win. And later, I'm going to go into what I was thinking from season 1 to season 2 and what's been going on. We'll get into that. But one thing I do with myself's podcast and my clients' podcast is I reflect on the previous season or previous batch of episodes, and I look at them and I see really what's resonating with my listeners, what my listeners are really enjoying. So I want to tell you what I saw last season. There was 4 episodes that really hit home for my listeners and were the most listened to, and I got the most engagement from. So the first episode was episode 1, which can definitely be a podcaster's most listened to episode. But my episode 1 was called Your Podcast Isn't Growing. Here's Why You're Stuck. And in that episode, I break down why your podcast is stalling and what you can implement to start to see growth right away. And if you've seen your momentum dip, this is a great episode to start with to really understand me, how I think of podcasting, and how to get that momentum for your podcast. Episode 3 is called The Harsh Truth, Why Your Podcast Isn't Making You Money. This is a big one, and I wasn't surprised that people wanted to know more because podcasters always want to be making money. And I think that's like one of the biggest questions I definitely get is like, how can I actually make money? And so I break that down in this episode. And I also talk about the 3 big mistakes that you're making that is stopping your podcast from actually making money. And I give you a helpful monetization guide, 5 ways to make money from your podcast without sponsorships. So that's a great one. And there's also episode 14. It's a 5-minute podcast audit that will help you fix your mistakes right now while you listen to it. And that was a short, actionable episode that gave you a checklist that you could follow along with, and you were able to see the gaps that you have in your podcast with that episode. Short and sweet. And there was also episode 4, and this one was podcasting versus social media. Which one actually grows your business? And this one really spoke to those people who are feeling burnt out on social media. It's not a joke. You can really feel like you're on that hamster wheel and you're never getting off because you don't want to stop. Because if you stop, then where will you get some of those trickles of those clients coming in? Or if you stop, people might just totally forget about you. And it also talks about, in that episode, the Dream Client Messaging Guide. And that messaging guide helps you to make sure that the things that you're saying in your episode are speaking directly to your dream clients, so they do keep coming back to your podcast and listening to you and getting to know you and trust you more as they listen. And if you haven't heard them yet, or you need a refresher, you should go listen to them now. And also, I will have those guides, checklists, and docs all in the show description as well. And that is under the episode title. You'll see it right there, and you can go ahead and grab those. Now, let's talk about what are the things that I thought after learning all of this information about my listeners and watching the analytics and just getting to know you just a little bit more. What was I thinking? Where's season 2? When's it coming back? Why are we just doing an update episode instead of doing season 2? Let's get into it. After season 1 wrapped up, I wanted some time to think. And I didn't want to take a whole entire break, but I just wanted space for myself and my thoughts to think about how I want this podcast to help my business and not just be content, but be a strategic asset. And I really had to understand that fully before I was ready to come back. And I did come back in a slight capacity. I came back with a 5-part series, which I absolutely loved. And in that series, I got to have guests on. And that was a first for me. And that might sound silly or small to you, but for me, I've hesitated on having guests on my show because I really champion having solo episodes if you are a coach, consultant, or service provider on your podcast. It's because I believe that if you are going to sit in the authority seat on your podcast and talk about your thought leadership, how you help your clients, having case studies, and talking about what you do and selling your offers, why are you having just guests on your show? And so I fought a little bit with that, but it was incredible when I had the guests on because it was intentional, it was smart, and now having guests on my show, I do understand the lure, and I understand, and I've always understood that conversations are important to have. They're very important, but not when you are leaning on them or thinking that they're going to make you more legit podcaster than you are if you're just a solo show. And because my podcast is about podcast strategy, I wanted to make sure that the guests that I had on were going to actually help you get those results. I sat down to work on season 2. I was a little stuck because the series was so inspiring, so exciting for me. I started to have different ideas and approaches that I wanted to take that I could see so much value for you, the listener, that I was buzzing. I was just too excited because my first intention with season 2 was going to be all about launching a podcast sustainably in a way that, of course, you don't burn out, but also in a way that you're not wasting 2 years trying to get the same exact results that people get 2 years down the road, but get them a lot sooner. And that's really what I wanted to help you do. But I had to sit and think and really break down what I wanted to bring you and why. I wanted to look at what was going on. So I audited my podcast, my offers, my containers, and part of it was letting go of the Podstar membership. And because it was no longer serving the clients who were in it the right way, it wasn't serving my energy the right way, and it was just something that was building tension. And I was just so focused on it, and I realized that. And what I did was I broke it down a bit, and I now have it as a standalone operation. It's actually the Podstar Launch Vault, and it's the same value, but in a different container that is more easily digestible for DIY clients. All to say that Podstar Launch Vault is now in a new container. It's a one-time purchase, and it still holds a lot of value, and it's just less energy drain on me. That is that. But in the meantime, while all of that was going on, me figuring out how I wanted to approach the new season and how I wanted to redo my offers, I was also busy doing a couple other things that I want to tell you about. And I really know that it's because of the podcast. I just had an amazing momentum shift in my business. I was so much more busier than before, and it doesn't have direct correlation to the podcast, but I see it as correlation. What happened was people started reaching out after I started a podcast, pitching me, of course. And also I had women reach out to me as I had before, but a lot more had come to me saying, hey, Melina, do you know of anyone who's having guests on their podcast right now? I would really like to increase my podcasting guesting. And that was just kept happening. I also was thinking, I need to start podcast guesting as well. So funny enough, I started the Women's Guesting Circle, and it is a circle of women, about 30 women now, who are hosts and guests that collaborate together. And also we have these great little chemistry parties where you can meet people to see if you want them on your show, see if the vibe is there between the two of you, right? Because sometimes you go on these shows and you're a bit nervous because you haven't talked to that person before. And so I really wanted to create this free space for women, because in the podcast guesting space right now, what I'm seeing is a lot of bro feeling apps and stuff that's out there, and which is cool, and algorithms that help you match perfectly with da 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 da. But I just think I wanted something that was just a little bit more feminine, a little bit more sweeter, something that felt like you were just coming and chatting with friends, instead of it feeling so, I gotta get this many guessing spots by this, and that's my goal, and if it's not gonna happen, I'm not interested. And just have it be more human, right? It's all about community, and that's what we need to be building. If you don't see it out there, go ahead and go create it, because I did it and it is so much fun. All right, so let's continue. The next thing that happened was I was invited to a major summit appearance, and I was the only podcast strategist at that summit, and that was huge for me, and it helped so much with visibility and momentum. That was super exciting, and it's over now, and I kind of miss it. And I'm like, can I do it again? And hopefully next year I will be doing it again. Also, I was featured in an online magazine as well. And as I said earlier, you heard me talking about the PRX Podcast Garage. I actually had the audacity, right? I had the strength, the confidence, the excitement to email them and say, hey, I don't see many events going on in this space. Can I come and host an event here? And they said yes, because of COVID, unfortunately, the PRX Podcast Garage has taken quite a hit in the event space. And I'm so excited to be able to do that and bring events there and hear more from podcasters in the community and help people in my own community is so exciting as well. So as you can see, it might feel like I've been quiet here on the podcast, and because I work in seasons, this is okay for me. And I feel like being able to take a break and coming back so very intentionally is part of how I like to work and how I like to help my clients. Not all of my clients are on season-based approaches, but some are, and it really works out very well for them. And so I want you to know that that is an approach you can take where you can be able to take your time, take some time off, come back stronger. And I want to let you know that Podcast to Grow will come back January 13th. And I'm so excited about this season. And I really want to invite you to come and help shape this new season with me, because I want this podcast to serve you in the very best way that you need it. So I'm going to ask you and invite you to let me know what you are looking for when you listen to this podcast. Maybe it's an idea you're sitting on, maybe it's a challenge that you're having, or maybe it's just you wanting me to break a few things down that I haven't yet on the podcast. So please go ahead, DM me, email me, get a hold of me somehow, come to the event, whatever that is, and we can shape this podcast together. I also want to invite you to come and be a part of this show and get a little coaching from me. I will be opening up a few hot seat audit spots for people that may have a podcast, or maybe you don't, and you have a few questions of where you're stuck. And I'm going to show you how to overcome those right here on the show. So there will be a form in the show description that you can fill out if you're interested in being on the show with me. That would be so exciting. And I would love, love, love that. And I also wanted to say, if you didn't catch any of my posts about my season 2 on LinkedIn or on IG or Threads, I really wanted to invite you again. Please tell me what you want to know more of. I am excited because I really want to work on this show and have it be what you really want. And what I'm kind of thinking, and these are the polls that I put up, is what do you want more of in the season 2? Is it real clients, strategies, and the pivots? Is it on-air audits and the live breakdowns? Or is it behind-the-scenes podcast process that I actually do? And would you like to see that broken down? In what ways? Or is it more guest conversations with women that are podcasters, or maybe they in a way can help podcasters? Let's co-create the season together and make it even better for you, the listener. Okay, let's wrap this up. So the podcast comes back January 13th with a fresh new subtitle and real actionable behind the scenes approaches so that you can actually attract your dream client to you. And I want to invite you to help shape this season with me, with your questions, with your topic ideas, and possibly even your voice on the show. And if you are serious about making 2026 your podcast breakout year, come and map out your podcast idea with me. I will be hosting in December a 60-minute online session that is called Map Out Your Podcast Strategy, More Clients, Less Content Stress. What we will be doing is zooming out and clarifying the role of your podcast in your business so you can stop spinning your wheels and seeing real traction. And this is for people who are looking to launch a podcast, or they already have, and they want to make sure that their podcast stands out in the crowd and the sea of all the other podcasts that are out there. And what you're going to get when you come is a clear visibility goal for your show, a roadmap that will help you understand your next steps that you need to be taking, and a strategic content themes that connect to your business and your offers. It's going to be happening on December 9th, and there will be 2 sessions, one at 1 p.m. EST and one at 6 p.m. EST. And I would love to see you there, so go ahead and grab your free spot in the show descriptions right underneath this title of this episode. And I know I have given you a lot, and I tell you, don't have too many call to actions in your episodes. And I went a little crazy, and it's because this is an update and I'm not coming back till January 13th. So I want to give you everything that's been going on right now and make sure that you are able to get all of this goodness that I want to give you. So if you can't remember everything that I talked about, the one thing that you can do for me is go ahead and look in the show description and you'll see everything there, and I'll title it all out for you. But one big thing that you could do for me to help other podcasters hear the show, or people who are interested in starting a podcast hear the show, is rate and review. Please, this makes such a difference for the show. If they hear that you are enjoying it and they know that, they are more likely to listen to that episode. So I'm asking, if you had just 5 minutes of your time, go ahead and scroll down and give this 5 stars and write a little review. That would be so helpful to me, and I really appreciate you. And as always, thank you so much for being here with me and growing with me. We're growing our podcast together, and I am so happy that you have listened, and please have a wonderful day. Wait, before you go, I'm running a special giveaway to thank my amazing listeners and for you that are here for the beginning of this podcast with me. This has been amazing. You'll be entered to win a one-on-one strategy call with me. So here's how to enter for the giveaway. Step 1, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Step 2, screenshot it and DM me giveaway on Instagram at Vibe and Voice Media so I know it's you. And that is Vibe and Voice Media, VIBENVOICEMEDIA. And for a bonus entry, share this episode on your IG stories and tag me